The Auburn Tigers continue to rebuild their coaching staff. Let's talk about it. Yes, sir. Good evening, Auburn family. Good evening, Up-Tempo gang. Right before we hit record, Blake, we had to move some things around. A little breaking news, literally as we were about to hit the intro, man. So, had to switch some stuff around. Still going to talk about the same guy and Tanner Burns going to Texas State after just a couple days ago. We were prepared to talk about him getting promoted to the nickel spot. We got hired a new edge coach, a familiar face, and picked up a big edge commitment from Sam Houston State. So we got a lot to talk about, brother. Got a basketball game tonight at 8 o'clock, taking on Texas for the first time as SEC opponents. I got a lot going on the plans right now, brother. Baseball season ready to kick off here in just a couple of weeks, man. A lot going on. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. I will be headed to watch Shadarius Tootle play basketball tonight. So that is where I will be, my alma mater. So I'm pretty excited for that. I think the world of the Tootle family, and I can't wait to watch him play tonight. But of course, I'll be keeping up with the basketball game, and I wanted to hop on here with you and talk about the moving pieces, man. Tanner Burns, it was just like I got the notification. We were about to hit record, y'all. This was crazy. We're about to hit record, and I got the notification on my phone, and I was like, Dustin, this is crazy. Tanner Burns is gone. So a lot of stuff going on, man, a lot of moving pieces. But I think that as the fan base and, I think you look forward to this kind of stuff in the off season, because not necessarily Tanner Burns, like people hating Tanner Burns. I just felt like people were kind of uneasy with that move to the nickel, right? Like,
yeah, I had a whole thing prepared to talk about.
Yeah,
we don't have to go down that road now.
Yeah, people were very, very skeptical of that move and kind of just rubbing their heads of like scratching their heads of why did we do this? It was the kind of the first time you had questioned something on defense, because we were like, man, we always trust
Right.
DJ Durkin, and then we were like, what? And then he was still going to coach special teams. We were like, that was double whammy. We were like, what?
That's what got me. I was like, the nickel is one thing, but he's still going to coach special teams. I said, whoa.
Yeah. Weird stuff, man. But hey, we got to figure it out before we get to next season, right? Do or die next season. The heat is turning up, and we got to figure this thing out. We got to get the staff ready, and we got to get this roster filled out.
Yeah, so Tanner Burns leaving for Texas State, and wish him all the best. I think a lot of it has to do with Blake Rock Bellantonio being named as Auburn's edge coach, and he previously, when he was at Auburn under Brian Harsin, he coached special teams. So to me, just kind of connecting dots. I know there hasn't been an official announcement yet from Auburn, but to see Tanner just a couple of days ago get promoted, and then, to Nichols coach, and the announcement was he's still going to coach special teams. So it's like, all right, you're going to give him more responsibility. And then to see him, he got associate head coach, I believe, at Texas State, and some other on the field positions there as well. So like he gets an even bigger promotion than that one. And I just think that it's no coincidence. I don't know which one came first, but on the same day when you see Rock Bellantonio coming in and he's going to coach the edge position, and then him also having that experience of coaching the special teams units before at Auburn, I think that I would not be shocked if in the next couple of days you hear, hey, Rock's going to take over special teams as well, because edge is a pretty specific position. And I know he's going to have to coach those guys. I know it's a big responsibility, but it's not like he's got to be the DC and the special teams guy, right? Like he can coach the edge and then hopefully still be able to clean up some of the issues that Auburn has had on special teams. So I like it, man. And we know Rock well. He's a very, very solid recruiter. He's got strong ties to South Florida. He's had this whole kind of roller coaster the last couple of weeks with Florida Atlantic just being an absolute mess. But I like Rock, man. I like it. It's a good addition. And we know that Hugh Freeze is going to add guys that can recruit. I don't think Rock had a long enough stint at Auburn, and he was also under just kind of a crappy regime to where I could really put a fair assessment on his talent development. But I think that he was one of the best recruiters on a staff that was severely handicapped in a lot of ways in recruiting. And I don't think Hugh Freeze makes this move if he doesn't think that Rock Bilantonio can recruit. And I had always heard, hey, Rock can recruit, but he's got his hands tied behind his back because of who the head coach is, and then obviously the higher ups at Auburn not wanting to put the resources into the current head coach to go get the big time guys. I'm excited to see how Coach Rock can do at Auburn now with a full arsenal with a coaching staff telling him, hey, you go out and you go get the guys that you want. And Blake, I know you love a guy with South Florida ties.
That's big time. It is. I also love a guy that was a defensive coordinator, and his defense ranked 13th nationally in tackles for lost. I think Matt Zenitz posted that, and I saw that earlier this afternoon, and I was like, hey, I don't want to bash Tanner Burns, right? I just think him leaving and Rock coming in had a little something to do with all of this. Like it was probably tied together. And some people might say it's not, but I'm gonna think what I want. And I was just questionable about the Tanner Burns thing. And I know he was with Hugh at Liberty and all that stuff, right? But I can't get down with the move to nickel. I couldn't get over that one. That was the first time where I'd really just sat there and scratched my head on it, Dustin, and been like,
yeah,
what are we doing? This is a blunder. And now you see he's leaving, and everybody loved Rock. It was like, we know what happened with Harsin, but everybody loved Rock, and we were kind of hurt when he left the Plains, right? Even some players were hurt. I feel like he's a player's guy. I feel like he can recruit. When he left, he had success. Don't look at the FAU record or anything like y'all. FAU was that was a disaster, right? Tom Herman didn't do that place any favors. He hasn't done any place any favor. But I think Rock's a heck of a coach.
Fact, bro.
Yeah, he just awful. But I think Rock's a heck of a coach to come in and coach the edge, and hey, you've got a big time player coming, and there's potential on this defense. I think this is something. I think it's a positive, Dustin. Like if you to look at it like this, you trade one and receive one. I think it's I think it's a win, and that's not me trashing Tanner Burns. I just think this trade-off, if you want to call it that, was a positive for Auburn.
Yeah, and I'll take it a step further. I will say this because I've already said I thought he should have been fired from the position. So I can't really back all of it now. Tanner Burns not coaching the special teams, and if it ends up being Rock Bilantonio, which I believe it will be, it's a plus.
Yes,
it's a plus. The big to Blake's point, not going to pile on Tanner here and wish him nothing but the best at Texas State, but like him coaching, I hadn't with the Nichols, like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was he's still going to coach the special teams. That's where my hang up on it was. I was like, bro, this was historically bad, and like the Auburn media, when they put out the announcement, they said, well, Auburn was top 15 in the country this year in defending the punt. And I'm like, okay, and let's look at every other stat. Like you went and got the one. But ultimately, man, it doesn't matter. It's a non-factor. And I agree with you. I think it's a gain. It's a plus. It's a positive that Tanner Burns is not going to be coaching the special teams next year. Again, wish him the best, but it was god awful.
Yeah, we were top 15 defending the punt because we couldn't punt.
Yeah, put it 34 yards out of bounds, no return.
Come on now.
Hard to return the shank.
It's like, I think we had a comment on here not too long ago. It was like, you guys forget how good Oscar was for us. And I was like, yeah, a year ago, 2 years ago, for sure.
Sure.
But this past season, no, he was not. It was a steady decline, and I wonder why. But it is what it is. He's gone now, so good luck
It'll
to him.
be interesting, man. It'll be interesting, Blake. I mean, I would assume that they're going to announce in a couple of days Rock is taking over special teams,
Yeah.
just connecting the dots. But it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Let's get to some of these comments before we talk about a new addition from Sam Houston State that Coach Rock will be coaching at least for 1 year. Got a good crowd piling in here. Start a little bit early because Blake's going to go check out Auburn's 2026 linebacker commit. Sedarius Tootle, play a little basketball, bro. Michael says, time to get that dub, horns down. Yeah, I guess we got to get used to it, huh? It's, our first time playing them in anything SEC, so I'll do it. They get so butthurt about it. It is what it is.
But I just want to say this real quick about that. How soft was the Big 12 for making that a penalty if you did it in game?
So pathetic.
That's soft as Charmin, bro.
That's why A&M ran away from them. They were like, we can't deal with all this.
Trash.
Yeah, that's crazy. Ant, what's up, buddy? Bradson there, he says, my man's talking about Tanner went from having one of the worst special team units in the NCAA to getting a promotion to an additional position coach to getting promoted to associate head coach. Hashtag head scratcher. Hey, man, maybe he'll prove us all wrong. I don't know. I'm sure there's whoever the head coach is at Texas State. I would assume there's some heavy ties there. You see that going on in the coaching industry all the time. Boys helping out their boys. Tim says nickel only coach was kind of weird. Glad that's done. Yeah, the whole situation just felt a little strange. Just kind of going off of the way things played out last season. And then Brad says, I only remember Bellantoni's name, nothing significant about him as a coach or recruiter. Yeah, I mean, in his time at Auburn, nothing significant happened on the field for anybody. I mean, Derek Hall and those guys, Leota was playing well. I think Eku Leota, wasn't that his name? He's playing well before he had that serious injury and stuff. But again, just didn't see – he wasn't here long enough to see how he developed talent. I'll say this, Brad. I've always heard that Rock was a really good recruiter and that he was just on a staff and just in a situation that didn't really lend itself. I believe, Brad, that Ruben Bain, the defensive lineman, the edge rusher for Miami, I believe he's an Auburn Tiger if Hugh Freeze retains Rock. So let's see. I'm very interested to see how he does with, like I said earlier, a full arsenal. Like, hey, man, here's the NIL money. Hugh Freeze pumping him on the back saying, go get whoever you need to get. And he has strong ties in the state of Florida. So we'll see. He's going to have his chance. They're going to unleash him on the trail. And I think he's going to do good work, man. One thing, when Brad, you're a member. So if you watch the member pod, I talked about this. It's the one thing I just have trusted, man. Like if Hugh puts a guy in charge, I'm assuming he can go acquire talent. I got a lot of questions about Hugh Freeze, but as far as him being able to recognize people that can go get talent and building a staff that can recruit, that's not a concern. That's if Hugh thinks you can go do it, I think you can go do it.
People question that D-line hire.
Yeah.
People question that one. They said, I don't know about this. Dude ain't never been there.
And we're promoting on it.
I think everybody was. And I think that's the good thing about Hugh Freeze right now is like we know everything in game and all that. We can go down that road again. But most of the time he's hit on these coaches, man. And like I think DJ Durkin wouldn't approve of this if he didn't like it either. So
yeah, great point. Trust DJ from what he's built for sure. Karen's here. Karen's always supporting, repping us, saying War Eagle, everyone. And yeah, Brad, it was weird. Just kind of the whole. I mean, he got like fired, rehired, and this whole situation going on at FAU. Very, very poorly ran program over there. Bad head coaches, obviously a bad administration. Just not a good situation going on. Blake had him turned around though. Blake had him turned around in our online dynasty mode.
Why do you think I took FAU, bro? I love South Florida football. Like they got some real playmakers down there, and I know it's a video game. I'm just talking about recruiting area and the pipeline that you could create to Auburn. Like a lot of former Auburn players, y'all, they talk about that. They're serious about it. They're like, if Auburn wants to be great again, you have to start getting kids from South Florida like you did back in the 90s and 2000s. And you got away from it. And other people, other teams were like, hey, if Auburn's not going to do it, we're going to do it and go down there and do it ourselves. All right. The Georgias, the Alabamas, like they're going down there and they're snatching kids. And now you got Miami you got to deal with. There for a little bit, you didn't have to deal with Miami. So I think you got to get back to it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, buddy. Let's talk about this new Auburn Tiger, Chris Murray, transferring in. He's got 1 year of eligibility left, coming in from Sam Houston State, coming in at 6'3", 240. He was first team All Conference USA last year. He recorded 34 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, and 5.5 sacks. So, Blake, we kind of know that the defensive line, that edge room, is definitely a spot where Auburn needs to add depth. And you're hoping that Jamonte Waller, Amaris Williams, those guys take the next step next year and are ready to get a lot more reps in SEC play. But you need to add a guy that's played a whole lot of football. You need to add a guy that's got some experience, but doesn't have too many years of eligibility because you don't want to scare nobody off, right? So I think this is a good pickup.
Yeah, I'm cool with this pickup, right? You got to fill out the roster. Like you said, you got to add depth. I'm okay with adding a first team All Conference USA guy. I'm cool with that. That means he played at a high level. I know it's the G5. A lot of people are kind of iffy after everybody, seen a couple of G5 guys come Auburn's way and not pan out. He's a 1 year guy. We did see a G5 guy, come in and pan out with Jalen McLeod.
Right.
So I think you kind of want to see the same motor in Chris Murray. Like you want to see the same results, like the growth, I guess, in 1 year coming from G5 to the SEC. You just want to see growth out of him. And if Auburn needs him in a situation, somebody goes down with an injury or something like that, this is a guy that's played a lot of college football. He's played at a high level. First team All Conference USA. Look at those stats right there. I mean, 5.5 sacks, y'all, 5.5 sacks. Maybe he's a guy that can come in, and even if he gives us half of that, even if he gives you half of that this year for Auburn, I think you would take that, right? Like
yeah, absolutely.
If Chris Murray come in and just gave you, let's just say he gave you 3 sacks, you would take that.
Got some pressure.
Yeah, I'd take it. I think it's a solid pickup. I'm not going to get on here and boast about it and be like, oh God, we're going to the SEC championship, Chris Murray. I want to see him come to Auburn and have growth and get better throughout next year and help us with depth and get on the field when we need him and play big snaps. So that's how I approach this.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you got to fill the roster out. You know that edge, that defensive line is a position that you need to have some more guys at. We've seen over the last 2, 3, 4, seasons, Auburn's defensive linemen wear down. And I think the hope is some of these talented guys that Hugh Freeze has been bringing in these high school recruiting classes. I know it sucks, guys. I know it sucks. But it usually takes a defensive lineman or an edge rusher a couple years to get up to be ready to play SEC football because it takes those offensive linemen a couple years. So an 18-year-old might not come out of high school and be able to take on a 21-year-old that's been in the SEC weight room for 3 years, play after play. Keldrick Falk is rare. And even with Keldrick, was his sophomore year not a lot better than his freshman year? Malik Blockton's rare. Let's watch how much better Malik Blockton is next year and how much better he is by the time he leaves Auburn. So it's just one of them things, man. And again, I like that he only has 1 year of eligibility because that's the game you got to play now. Because if you go and get a guy that's got 2 years of eligibility and he comes in the spring and he starts killing it, then maybe some of them other freshmen are looking around like, well, wait a minute. Now that's 2 years that I might not get ahead of them. And then they go and they hit the portal. And that's the thing too. And hear us now. Me and Blake are not going to give any record predictions when there's a whole nother portal window open, okay? Because Colton Hood won a starting spot last spring and then left.
Yep.
So I'm going to hold off on all that, but I'm excited for Chris Murray, man.
Bro, I went on TikTok. I went TikTok live like a week ago, and this guy was like, Blake, tell me your prediction for the 2025 Auburn Tigers. And I was like, I have no idea, man. And I was like, just because one thing, injuries can happen in spring. 2, there's another portal window, and I don't know what the roster is. Like SEC Mike, he has Auburn going 10-2 next year. Crazy to me when you don't even know what the roster is.
Right.
And the guy responds to me and he's like, "You do know the roster." And I was like, "No, I don't." How would you feel if Malcolm Simmons hits the transfer portal after spring ball? And we're over here hooting and hollering 10-2, 10-2. And then you would look at me and be like, "You're freaking crazy, man. You said we were going 10-2." And that's why I don't get into the whole predictions and things like that before you don't even know the roster yet. You have no idea. It's still a question mark. College football is crazy. So a lot still to wait and see, you know.
For sure. Miller with an excellent point here. So he says we just can't get too emotionally attached to kids that come to Auburn anymore. I was
Anywhere.
looking at yeah. And the Jeffrey Emba situation is a perfect example of this, where it's just starting to feel more and more like the NFL. It's like,
Yep.
okay, well, you leave, you get a better offer, you don't like the situation, whatever. So you make a free agency move and you go play a couple years, and then you opens up again and you make a free agency move to go back. I mean, if you have a pro team out there, you might see the same DB or something on your team over a span of 5 or 6 years, 2 or 3 times, right? He might get circled around the division a couple times and come back to your team. And it's just becoming more and more like it. So Miller, I agree with you. I am more in love with the AU now than the actual players that represent it. And it's kind of always been that way, but like more so now than ever. And that's just the way the game is going.
Did you ever think when you watch the NFL, y'all, sometimes the grass isn't always greener? And I want to point this out. Aaron Rodgers went to the playoffs every year with Green Bay, won a Super Bowl, was in position to win a couple more, and he choked. All right. Said, "Man, I hate this place. Screw Green Bay. I want out. So I'm a portal over here to the Jets." And they've been dog water ever since he got there. All right. He tore his Achilles last year. This year, he was perfectly healthy. Made this big YouTube video with Devontae Adams, and I was, "Oh, I got my dog back." They're garbage. All right, and they're about to cut both of them, and it didn't work out. So it takes me back to my point of Jalen Simpson. What he told me at the Senior Bowl last year is, it ain't about I can go here, I can go there. It's about the school that gave me the opportunity, man. And he said, "I fell in love with Auburn, not a coach, not, other players or anything like that." He's like, "I actually fell in love with the town, with Toomer's Corner, with Jordan Hare Stadium." He was like, "That's what I fell in love with." And it's in the NFL too, y'all. Like these guys are like, "I want to get traded here," and then they go to this team and they end up being an absolute blunder. And it's like, well, what if you would have stayed, man? Like, if you would have stayed there, like what could have been? It takes Odell Beckham's career. Odell Beckham Jr. become a diva, and all he wanted to do was get shipped around, and it never worked. He was basically a portal player in the National Football League because all he wanted to do was jump from team to team to team to team, and he become a diva. And I don't know. College football is wild.
It's a wild time. It's hard to keep up with it all. Let's get to some of these comments before we get out of here, Blake. I know you got to get to the game.
Yeah, man.
Donnie says, "I think we should be talking about the best basketball team in the land instead of a 5 and stuff." I got it, Blake. I got this one here. Hold me, give me just a second. So, Donnie, I hear you, brother. Of our last 4 episodes, 3 of them have been basketball. 3 of the last 4. I'm going to read off the views to you, my guy. The basketball, 6 days ago, we talked about Auburn being 12-1 in the non-con. It got 422 views. Then the preview for the Missouri game got 386 views, and the recap of the Missouri game is at 410 views. The one football episode in those 4 episodes there, the one football episode we've done in a week and a half is at 1.2 thousand views. So, buddy, you guys drive the content, Donnie. You guys drive the content. So we're going to continue to follow the basketball team. There'll be multiple basketball episodes this week. So like tune in for those. Buddy, if I combine the last 3 basketball episodes, the numbers don't equal that the one the last football does. And at some point, we do what the people watch. So if 2,000 people showed up and watched basketball, we talk about basketball. But that's not quite the way it works, brother. And I hear you. I hate it's that way. It's a lot more fun to talk about the number 2 team in the country than it is to talk about a 5-7 football team. We got to do what does numbers every now and then, my guy. At least got to have one football episode a week. We got March to hit.
You know, I did the post game reaction show, starting off 1-0, beating Missouri. I was like, man, it's a solid episode. You know, we beat Mizzou. It was impressive. There was only one little sloppy point in that game that I had to point out, and you dominated that. And it was just like, you throw it up, and we always want to talk about being a basketball school. This is where it gets me, y'all. This is where it gets me. Even go check the War Report. Go check when Zach talks about it on Locked On.
Yeah, compare the numbers.
Everybody's like, oh, Auburn's a basketball school. No, you're not, because you don't care about basketball. I can tell you this. I feel like I know a pretty good bit of Auburn people and everybody we interact with on here. When basketball loses, you go to bed, you lay your head down on your pillow, and you have a good night's rest. Don't get me wrong. It upsets me. And I get hurt and everything. Like when we lost to Yale, man, I was pissed.
That sucked. Yeah.
But it still doesn't come close to losing to Vanderbilt in Jordan-Hare Stadium. It doesn't come close. So when everybody gets in my comments and we're a basketball school, Blake, or I've been on TikTok for 36 minutes and somebody says, man, why are you talking about trash Auburn? This is a school that cares about basketball. We don't care about basketball. We're just good at it. We don't give a damn. It's the same way across the state, bro. They don't care about basketball. Now they went to the Final Four and they were hooting and hollering. Like, that's cool. You're just good at it right now. You have 2 elite coaches, and you got 2 coaching staffs that are probably near the top of the country.
Facts.
But when Bruce Pearl leaves and the right hire, let's just say the right hire isn't made, guess what people are going to do? Who cares? It's all about Auburn football, baby. That's just how it is. And it's always been like this. It's been like that our entire lives, man. Our entire lives. Like, we care about it. And when we would make like we would make the NCAA tournament, and we would just like, oh my God, we made the NCAA tournament, you know, like, we didn't care if we won a game. We were just like, oh, we made it, cool, you know. But you don't actually believe you're a basketball school. And I'm sorry, it'll never be a basketball school. It'll never be a baseball school. I love Auburn baseball, y'all. I pour my heart into watching all 55 games, or if we go into postseason and however many we end up playing. I pour my heart into watching all of those. And I know Auburn will never be a baseball. We will never reach LSU territory in baseball. We will never reach South Carolina territory in baseball, or Vanderbilt, or now Texas. You know, we will never reach that. So that's where I sit with it. It's really hard. It's really, really hard hearing that about we're a basketball school, because it doesn't show. It doesn't.
Yeah, and I mean it's I think, and this I kind of expand on Brad's point here. He says those AU Tennessee ticket prices make me think we're a basketball school, but yeah, we're still a football school that also cares about other sports. That's what it is, man. We all know that football drives it. And I'll just say this, Brad. I think that we're winning games in basketball. I think a lot of Auburn fans tune into the basketball games. I think a lot of Auburn fans watch the basketball games. I think a lot of Auburn fans want to go to the basketball games, but the numbers don't lie. And like Blake said, it's not just us. It's not people that like look across any of the Auburn media podcasts, any of the Auburn content creators, and just compare the numbers. Just compare the numbers. Go look at
Yeah.
what their football episodes do, and then go look at what their basketball episodes do. And I promise you, it's going to look the same. So I do think, like Blake said, people care about basketball. I love Auburn basketball in the way that Blake loves Auburn baseball. I've never met a bigger baseball fan than Blake. But at the same time, it's, and Blake mentioned LSU. An LSU baseball podcast, they'll do 2,000 views. We don't get 300 when we talk about baseball.
I know
at some point, it's like time, energy, effort that even goes into it to what you get back, So it's Auburn fans care and they follow the basketball team, but I can tell you right now, they're not watching content. They're not watching like film breakdowns of basketball. They don't care that much about it. They'll tune in because Auburn's winning.
I know an LSU baseball podcast that does 12,000 views on one, and all they do is talk about LSU baseball. It's not talk. They don't half-ass the first part of LSU baseball and the second part of the show LSU football. No, it's strictly it's strictly Mikey Matuk that we've had on here before. He strictly talks LSU baseball on a lot of his episodes, and they jump, they pop. You want to know why? Because LSU is fully invested into their baseball program. They push all the chips in. Their fans, their school. Not only do they push it in football, but they push in all the chips in baseball too. And I'm kind of with you, man. I feel like, y'all, this isn't a dig at the basketball program. All right. It's not that. I love Auburn basketball, and I think what Bruce has done has been amazing. But I think a lot of it has to do with it's pulled the pain away from the football team being so damn bad.
It's nice to win.
It's pulled the pain away from being so bad. You've been in the thick of the SEC every year except one, when the Sharif stuff happened and all that. And
we weren't even allowed to go to the games.
Yeah.
I didn't watch basketball without a crowd. I just couldn't do it. So
and so all that happened, and whatever. But it's pulled the pain away. And you've been very, very poor in football, and you've been getting blown out in big games. And here's basketball, always in the top 10, top 15, number one in the country, a 2 seed in the tournament, and a 7 seed, an 8 seed, like teeter-tottering, a 5 seed. So it's been fun. You made a Final Four run. Like, it's brought the pain away from football. And I think that's what it truly is. And that's why we've invested in it, but people don't invest outside of Neville Arena, I guess I could say.
Yeah. I think it's easy to tune in and watch Auburn blowing out these other SEC rival schools by 15, 20 points, and it's fun. But as far as like following the daily content, the way people do with football, it's just not there. And here's my encouragement, Donnie. If you want us to do more basketball content, get more of your Auburn friends to watch it, share it out on social media, get more eyes on it. And if the numbers start coming in, then you'll see more content creators doing more basketball. That's just the way that works. I got a couple more of these in here before we get out of here. Please smash the thumbs up button, sub if you have it. Daniel says the only reason why I don't like the Rock hire was because he was under Harsin, and anyone coaching under Harsin was not a good hire besides Cadillac and Trevon Reed. Well, here's my thing. I'll say with this, Daniel. Do you like the hires that Hugh Freeze has made? Because that's what's really important here, because Hugh Freeze is hiring Rock. So I'm not going to judge Rock off of the Harsin situation because of just how bad that whole entire situation was. And I trust DJ Durkin. I mean, it's not like he's getting brought in and it's all Hugh Freeze and DJ is just, I'm adding this guy to your defensive staff. And edge, as it is in any system, is an important position. It's one of the most important positions in today's like passing style of football. You got to get after the quarterback on third down. I don't think DJ Durkin is signing off on an edge coach in his system unless he thinks he can coach, man. That's just me.
I'm with you. I don't think this was a bad hire, and I mentioned it earlier. DJ Durkin does not put it on the line. Like, he's not going to go out and make a clown of himself.
Right.
And be like, hey, this dude coached under Brian Harsin. He's a terrible coach and all this. No, they do their research, they do their interviews, they do their evaluations, and they come to the conclusion of, hey, this guy can coach. He's a player's coach. He gets along with the kids, and they made the hire. So I'm no way I'm downing this hire. I think it's solid, and hey, he's he's got a big shoe to fill from the guy that just left. So, I think he's going to do just fine.
Tim, I got to get this in before we get out of here.
No,
everything but football right now, buddy. as far as actual success, we're a football school, but as far as actual success, it always cracks me up. As I'm like, well,
we lost to Yale last year in the first round. We went 7-23 in the SEC in baseball. Even our people always want to say equestrian, Blake. Well, equestrian has fell off. All right. So, if anything, that damn golf program, they're hitting that little white ball out there, son. All right, you better go watch them. They're tearing it up. Hey, Miss America, yeah, how about that? All right, salute to Walker Kessler, brother. Hey, good for him, man. Good for him.
Yeah, I saw a whole lot of tweets. Look at me, I'm Walker Kessler.
Yeah,
I play in the NBA and I date Miss America. Yeah, definitely a golf school. Shout out to them national champs. All right, guys, we'll see you guys later on in the week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Share this thing out on social media. Hit that thumbs up button if you hadn't. We'll see y'all next time. It's War Damn Eagle, baby.
War Damn, baby.